a part of it that it has these expectations. Rich, all right, Rich, let me see if I can get you added in there, Rich. I see that you're there. I'm going to try to add you to the stage, okay? And let me add you to the stage if I can hear you. Are you there, Rich?
Yo,
Yo, what's going on? How are you doing? I can hear you indeed.
all
I'm going to
good,
try to
all
figure out
good.
where I think I'm hearing you from the phone. So give me a second. Let me see if I can connect my AirPods to. Are you getting any type of echo on your end?
No, I can hear you fine, bro.
Hey, welcome in. Good to meet you, man. How you doing?
Hey, yeah, great, man. Awesome to see you with your fam there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate see you as well. Welcome in. For all you guys who don't know, this is the Greater Conversation. This is Rich or Phil, depending on where I'm at and at any given point in a conversation. Welcome
For
in.
sure.
So what's on your mind? Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh man, I've been enjoying the updates, man. And it's a completely opposite time of the day over here. So I'm always winding down often, and it's pretty late now. So yeah, man, interesting topic. As soon as I saw the title, it made me start thinking about. You would obviously know the book Think and Grow Rich. I've read it a couple of times, and of course I'm rich, but like a lot of people, I'm broke. And yeah, man, which is what partly why I'm really enjoying what you're putting down, because it's not just mindset stuff. There's practical aspects that are, a lot of people just don't have their head around, myself included, because I basically haven't had anyone, at no stage of my life really. I'm 46, and I haven't had anyone teach me what it takes to become wealthy. Um, but yeah, I did read Think and Grow Rich a couple of times. Once recently, once probably 5 years ago, and I have a strong belief that it's possible to become wealthy, even though in a lot of ways, kind of going back to the topic from yesterday, the them and us topic, which obviously you don't want to get stuck in. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of barriers from getting from the bottom to anywhere, even the middle class, and particularly at the moment, the middle class is basically being attacked. Um, there's wealth gap was hugely increased.
Yes.
Uh, so and yeah, man, I've been going through some pretty challenging things in my own life. This last couple of months, I broke up with my wife,
Yes, sir.
and she took the kids, man, and that's just been like a super super challenging thing for me. uh but the interesting thing uh about mindset is that I do feel like I've got the right mindset, and it's more of a practical thing of getting things together. I've got a missing rotator cuff on my left shoulder
Uh-huh.
from a botched surgery. Yeah, from a botched surgery, which was like 20 years ago. I had a
Wow.
surgery pushed onto me, which I really didn't need, man. And I've done a lot of different things in my life, but gardening is what I've been attempting to do for the last decade. And having no rotator cuff basically only happened over this last 5 years, because what happened was it developed severe osteoarthritis after about 15 years because it was a super invasive operation. And so basically this last 5 years, I haven't been able to do normal work. I've been struggling to make ends meet because of that, and it basically impacted on my relationship. Uh, we have a couple of kids together, and my wife has a son from a previous marriage. So
Okay.
yeah, we have a 2-year-old, 5-year-old, and my stepson's like 12 years old. Um, we've just kind of turned a corner a bit, and we're going through mediation and everything. I'm gonna be able to see my kids. I'm actually going to be seeing them tomorrow and on the weekend apparently.
Okay, that's
So
good.
yeah, man, I'm super happy about it, and I've been talking to the boys on the phone. We've been having video calls and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, I could definitely do with having more practical knowledge
Mhm.
around what it takes to get there, to get above the poverty line, basically, man.
Right.
Because I've been living under the poverty line, and it's super challenging, man. Like I don't know what it's like exactly where you guys are, but in Adelaide, like people are struggling for housing, man.
Right.
Um, yeah, so it's just like
So
things are
it's not just a personal challenge.
challenging.
It's a area issue. It's an issue that is being experienced by a number of people where you are. Okay.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty common. And yeah, so I guess there's a few different areas when it comes to how to think different, or what it takes to think different. I think I just think different in general for whatever reasons.
Please
I've
stop
done a
writing
lot
that
of
down in the
different.
computer. I'm sorry about that. Please.
No, you don't have to be, bro.
I
It's all
say
good.
bye. Okay.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Um, yeah, I tend to just think differently about a lot of different things, man. We've been homeschooling our kids. Uh, I tend to, well, I did question a lot of the stuff that happened over the so-called pandemic. Going just back to the stuff from yesterday. I went down so many rabbit holes and started really questioning the reality that we live in. The confessionals podcast that I was mentioning yesterday, uh, that's basically like the once you get to the bottom of the rabbit hole and start thinking about things in a metaphysical way, and how the occult, etc., impacts reality, all the different kind of aspects of that, bloodlines, power, entrenched power, corruption, all these kinds of things. um, Man, that can take a real toll on your thinking, and if you're not mindful, it can be quite easily to get swallowed up in the negativity of all those things. Which who knows? But of from watching these uh, confessionals podcasts,
Mhm.
they're talking about not not it being, well, basically the reality we are living in to be a spiritual battle, more than a physical one, which is obviously, uh, you know, what Jesus has spoken to us as well. And yeah, man, I guess that's really where I'm coming from thinking differently, man. Just coming back to the point that we're in a spiritual war in a lot of senses, but there's always something to do in regards to our own thinking and guarding our minds and hearts. But there was, just to tie this up, there's a book that I've been reading that's been super helpful, and it's by a woman named Pam Grout, and the book's title is Thank and Grow Rich. And that's been a super powerful thought for me, just this last couple of months, man. It's been helping me stay afloat. uh,
Just a
I
moment. I'm
think
still here. I just need to give out some instruction. Give me just a moment.
all good.
All right, I'm back. Thank you for your patience.
Hey, no, all good, man. All good. Yeah, man. Just this idea of the the direction of our thoughts and our our perspective on things. Um, but the actually thinking different is one thing, but being different is a completely different thing. Which really does come down to like our moment to moment experiences and our capacity to be grateful and thankful for the opportunity to have this experience. And if it really is more rather than things of working out practical or material things, but a war against powers and principalities, then it it really makes things quite simple, because that's just a moment to moment thing of having the right, even if you're not having the right thoughts, being mindful of them. And yeah, it's actually super easy to find things to be thankful for. And
Mhm.
yeah, man, I have to, on that note, I have to say, man, I'm really thankful for
Right.
coming across your channel. It seems
So,
like it's a
so I want to
opportunity.
share,
Yeah,
if I can share a little bit with you. Um, so
yeah.
what you're sharing is, here's the first thing I want to share with you. One, you're not alone. It's, I don't know what the community is like where you live. Um, but when we go through situations like this, hey Ryan, what's going on, brother? How you doing today? When we have a tendency to go through difficult situations, right? Because remember, I'm a big believer, and I speak constantly to the fact that what we think about doing, what we say we're going to do, and then the actual actions that we take to do things are all different, right? So we haven't made a decision on anything until we act on it. So even if we think different, like you were just saying, until we behave different, where it's just a thought, right? We can speak differently. We can say, "Hey, I'm going to take these actions." Right? This morning's walk and talk was all about let's stop starting and let's just do. Right?
Mm,
There's this belief that everything is a starting point. Like I'm starting this new journey. Well, we're on this journey, right? And we have different areas that we'll be on this journey. But this concept or this view that we have that this next section of the journey is something new, and in some situation it is. And then this is what the term, I said before, we need to finish, right? So finish is a verb. So finish means it's an action that we're taking, and finishing means that it is an ongoing action. It's not like done. It's not like, oh, you've finished, right? Finished with the ed is saying it's past tense. It's something you've done. Finishing
mm,
is something you are doing, right? And so if you're in a sprint, finishing is the last 10 yards. It's like drive, lean, right? If you are in a if you're running a mile, finishing is the last 400, right? Because you're starting to turn over your kick. You might have to catch up with some people, and then you're coming down, and who can sprint for the longest on the 200 or run as fast as they can for 200. And so that's finishing, right? And so finishing is going to be in large part predicated and dependent on what it is you're doing, right?
Mm.
So we're living a life, right? We're living a whole life, and there are things that'll happen throughout that life. Finish, like you need to finish. There are different things, like you said. There's the marriage, there's raising the children, there's going to work, there's
Mm.
physical therapy, there's cooking a meal, there is meal planning. Like there are all of these things, and like I'm finishing dinner. So finishing dinner is putting away dishes, getting everything on the plate, making sure it's hot, getting it onto the table. That's finishing dinner. But
Mm.
also finishing dinner is eating the last thing off of the plate and getting the, and so it's an action word. Here's why this is important. In order for us to get there in any part of life,
Mm.
we have to understand that we are moving through it, right? And so this is one of the ways where I say we have to think different, right? The belief that so sensitive topic, and I can talk about it because I've experienced the difficulties of a marriage, right? I'm in a marriage, and I know what it feels like to have it pulling apart, right? To feel like, because this isn't a race you're on, this is a three-legged race. You're tied together, you're bound together. And so when you're running, or when the one person is running and one person it just stops, not even walking, not even, just stops, and you feel like, okay, well, this person is going in the other direction. Let me
Mm.
tell you, even if you're running towards something and that person is walking slowly towards that same place, it
Mm.
still feels like it's a dead stop. And
Mm.
what we have a tendency to do, especially in relationships, is say, "Hey, I'm gonna pull this person to where I'm going. I want to
Mm.
make this person go where I'm going." Right? Just a moment.
All good.
And so we get to a point where it's like, well, you're gonna go where I'm going. I'm gonna make you go. And that becomes more resistant because the person isn't saying they don't want to go. They're not saying they don't want to go. They're just saying, hey, let's talk about how we're going to get there and what speed we're going to travel at.
Mm.
But it feels like, it doesn't feel like the person is slowing down on the journey. It feels like they're pulling away. And then
Mm.
you pulling at them makes the whole thing feel like it's combative, right?
Mm.
So my wife and I have been together since, we've been together for 14 years now. The
Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. The thing that had started to happen in the past in our marriage was we would we would have conversations, right? And then the focus of the conversation was, I need you to think like I think. I need you to see this the way I see it.
Yeah.
Versus what is far more productive,
Mm.
how can I understand what you're saying? Right?
Yep.
Because if we're both seeking to understand what the other person is saying, right?
Mm.
We have to think different because we don't think the same. Even
Mhm.
though we share, like the whole reason we came together as a couple is because we shared a common appreciation, not just for each other, but for the way we saw the world, right? For the way we saw our future. And so we have to continue to build on that. Now, when we go into life and we start looking at everything we're dealing with employment, with paying bills, with just the challenges of being alive as an individual, it's the
Dropped
same
on this
thing.
side.
And I think this is one of the areas where I have been very adamant Looks like, am I back? Did it come back in?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it came back, and I missed a couple, about 30 seconds maybe.
Okay. So what I was saying is that there was a part where we have to understand that in the relationship, we are having this relationship. We're together because we agreed to be together on some of the things that we shared and we had in common, right? And that's the crux of how we're building the relationship. Now,
Mm,
when we start to look at just life in general, the think different part is where we start to see, like, we always think about people who have these great creations as thinking different, right? Einstein,
mm,
he saw the world differently, um all of your great creators, they saw the world differently, they thought differently.
mm,
Well, it doesn't have to be on that big of a scale in order for you to see, excuse me, change and growth in your life.
mm,
It could just be on a small scale. It's little things. You can start with trivial things. Um,
mm.
Fable said, "I feel for this dude. This is Rich. Seems like a cool bloke, and I reckon he'll pull it together and figure some things out. Sure, he will, right? Because he has a group. He has us. Like, he's a part. That's the whole reason for this whole thing that we do here. But one of the things that's big about thinking different in life. So for myself, I had some experiences as a youth that said, based on your behavior and the fact that it resulted in this negative outcome for you, because I was incarcerated as a younger man, your life is
Same, bro.
shot.
Yeah,
You're
same, man.
done. You're in the United States. You're
Mm,
African American. You're large African American, which is stereotypically going to either put you in a sports franchise or a gang. Like, those are your two categories, big black man. And now you've been incarcerated. Oh, you don't have a choice. You're gang. You're a criminal now. This is who
mm,
you are. This is what your life is going to be. And you don't have to say so anymore. These same types of thought processes, and it's really bad because it's not whether or not other people see you this way. It's when you start to see yourself that way, right? Which is
yeah.
kind of where you're at right now, Rich, is
Mm,
a lot of how you see yourself
mm,
is based on how society has told you you need to see yourself, right?
mm,
And
yeah.
so this is one of the things when you go to therapy, it's called projection, right?
Mm,
We
mm,
have a tendency to project onto other people. Oh, that person thinks they're better than me. Oh,
mm,
that person thinks that I don't know what I'm doing, right? So we have a tendency to project onto
mhm.
people what they're thinking. We don't know what they're thinking. People probably ain't thinking about us at all. They have their own series of issues that they're dealing with,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And
mm,
so then what happens is that once we turn that same type of view onto ourselves, and Fable spoke about it recently on his channel, and it's something that I've spoken to as well, is we can tend to be very, very forgiving of others and their difficulties, but
mm,
super critical of ourselves. Not give
mhm,
ourselves the same level of comfort and the same level of understanding, right? And
mm,
so
mm.
where you're at right now, I'm going to say, one, give yourself some grace, right? Look at the
Thanks, bro.
dude sitting across from you. A new thing that I'm incorporating into my life, and it's something that I mentioned on my walk and talk, is that one of the ways I believe people can motivate themselves is send yourself a text message at night. Before
Mm,
you go to bed, record a video and say, hey, you're important, right? You're doing the work. You're growing, you're getting better, and you're going to get better again. You did a good job today. You overcame the challenges, you overcame the difficulty. Send that text message, schedule it for yourself to get it in the morning right after you wake up. So, versus going to a mindful app, versus going to YouTube and looking
mm,
for motivational quotes, versus going anywhere and looking for something else from the outside, you're going to get a text message from yourself that says, hey,
mm,
man, you matter. You count.
mm,
and I believe in you if no one else does. And this is why this is important, is because we walk around all day thinking about us, with us thinking about us,
mm,
and criticizing us and telling us the mistakes we made. Even when we blame other people, right? Even when we get so angry that it's everybody else's fault, we
mhm,
still turn that back around on us. And we
mm,
say it's everybody else's fault that I'm this way. And so
mm,
now, even though it's everybody else's fault, when you say that I'm this way, you're saying I'm broken, but at least it's not my fault I'm broken. You see what I'm saying? But you're still
mm,
saying I'm broken. So we have a
mm,
tendency to be really hard on ourselves. So what does it
mm,
mean to think different, right? What does it mean to think different? Oh, so many challenges can arise. There's I don't care, think different, right? We know a lot of people who take that mindset. I don't care what anybody else thinks about me, right?
mm.
And it's like, okay, I hear you. You you say that an awful lot. Like, for a person who doesn't care what people think about them, you have
Yeah.
a tendency to express that out loud a whole lot, right?
Mm,
So then there's the position that you can take of, oh well, it's going to be okay. Like I have faith, and I have my belief, and I know spiritually I'm going to be better. What's going on, Lex? Good to see you today. So there's always that approach as well. But I think the major thing about thinking differently, right, that's really going to have an impact, like you said, there has to be some practical application to it, right? There has to be I'm thinking differently because I'm expecting a different outcome, right?
mhm,
So, what is the usual outcome from this thing? On my walk and talk this morning, part of it, I focused just for a moment on relationships. But I'm really big on discipline. And I
mhm,
believe you were in there doing that part.
mm,
When you start to work on yourself, when you start to understand, hey, I'm responsible for the things that I put myself in front of and give myself access to, right? There's a difference between there are no opportunities and there are opportunities, but I don't want to do those things. Those aren't the same thing. There's a difference between I can't do it and I'm choosing and I'm just refusing to do it. When you start to work on yourself and you do it again, repetition. So you have to get up every day and say, hey, this is a development for me. And the thing about it, that's a selfish act. But in order to be better at a relationship, in order to be better at not being selfish, you have to be selfish enough to work on yourself to not be selfish. You have to take enough time to say, hey,
yeah.
I'm not working on you right now. Me and my wife had to have a conversation where we understood that in order for
Mm,
us to be better for each other, we had to be better for ourselves. And we couldn't,
yep.
and this is the suckiest part of that transition, was we
Mm,
couldn't work on our marriage while we were working on ourselves. I
mm,
can't work on I can't work on being a I can't work on being a better man so that I can be a better husband until I've done the work on being a better man. So the benefit of me being a better man is I'll be a better husband to you, right?
mm,
So I need to get over my crap so I can be a better husband for you. But in the midst of that, I can't focus on the husband level of understanding and service and giving. I can't work on that part of me
mm,
until I've done this work on me. And it's the same thing for her. But the world's not going to stop, right?
mm,
Thoughts aren't going to stop. Children needs to be fed. School needs to be done. Bills need to be paid. And I get it. We're not communicating well right now, but we're not
mm,
communicating well because we're not the right way we need to be to communicate.
mhm,
So that's a challenge, right? So we start to do this work and we understood we had to take a break and we said, listen, we have things that we want to discuss about our marriage
mhm,
that we can't discuss until we become better, until we become better versions of ourselves or these discussions, the way that they've been, will continue to be the same way, and they will continue to elicit the same result. And so, what I said on the walk and talk this morning is when you're working on yourself and you're becoming a better version of yourself, as I always say, you have repetition, you have patience, and you have consistency. Those
Mhm.
three things work on the thing. And at that moment, that thing is you, right? And that thing is you for the purpose of being better for the relationship. The last thing, number four, is perseverance. That's solely on you. It's solely helping you become, not just in your relationship, not just in your marriage, but in your work relationships, in your community relationships, and your relationships with your brothers and your sisters, and your relationship with yourself. That
Mm.
perseverance has to apply in all of those areas. And so when you're doing that, you're building that perseverance. So, what does this mean to the larger picture? It means that it means we have to keep moving, and it's never really going to be easy, right? like and that's what I mean about thinking different about what it means to finish, right? Because you're not finished
Mm.
until you're finished,
Mm.
right? Your marriage, regardless of what happens with your marriage, you have three children,
Mm.
right? So you're not finished.
Mm.
It's interesting, there was this.
I feel like the work's just starting in the marriage now that we've broken up, you know?
Right. Right. Like I'm getting started, but like I said, and again, you were on the walk and talk this morning when I said it's all about the do, right? It's all about what you're doing. And I'm saying you're still doing the same thing. You're just course correcting. You're just doing it better. Hey, the relationship could just be starting. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know where this is going to end up, but what we do know, what you do know, is that wherever it ends up, Rich is going to be uh, a developing, stronger, more resourceful, more impactful, more engaging version of Rich, no matter how high the levels are that you have of that now. No matter
Mm.
how good a father you are right now, you know along this development, you're going to continue to develop more fathering skills. No matter how good of a man, no matter how good of a husband you believe you are or you are being right now, you're going to continue to develop those skills. That's growth. Where there is
Mm.
no challenge, there is no change. Where there is no change, there is no growth. And this
Mm.
often may elicit pain. But that's the part about truly thinking differently. Because when you think differently, you can freaking take a breath. You can be like, wow, okay. Like, okay, like it's going to be okay anyway,
Mm.
right? Even if it's not the outcome you want, right?
Mm.
You ever So what's the fast food restaurant where you grew up as a child? What was the fast food restaurant that you wanted to go to and you wanted to eat as a child?
Probably McDonald's, man. But
Okay.
yeah, I stopped eating it a long time ago now.
But as a child, and we all experienced this. It's even a really old Eddie Murphy joke from his stand-up comedy. Where like I want McDonald's. Can we go to McDonald's? And like, no, we got McDonald's at home. We can make we can make burgers and buns. I got cheese at home, and you're looking at your mom like that is not McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? But we've all lived that experience. But it was okay. We got home, we ate, we went to bed, we woke up the next day, and a
Mm.
couple of days later, we're talking to somebody about something that's, we've forgotten about the fact that we didn't get the McDonald's. But in that moment,
Mm.
because you asked about it, because you've become cognizant of the fact, oh, on the way home, we're going to drive past this McDonald's. And it's been a good day, and mommy is in a giving mood. And you're like, let's do McDonald's, mom. And mom's like, no. You know that look when you put your face against the window and you just watch the McDonald's slowly pass, right? So there's that there's that moment. But in that moment, it felt like my mom doesn't care. My mom doesn't understand. If we go through our entire lives, we're going to find moments when we were young, when we're like, my parents don't care. My parents don't understand. My parents don't see it. And now we're here, right? We're here. We have to remember that, not to try to change it, but we have to remember that for us, where we are right now as parents, where we are as adults, that there were decisions that had to be made by our parents, right? And a lot of people grow away from their parents as they get older. And it's like, my parents knew as much about being a parent when I was a child as I know about being a parent right now. I didn't know that as a kid. As a kid, everything my parents did that I felt like wasn't the right thing to do, I was like, how do you not know to do this the right way? You're the parent, right? But now that we're the parents, it's like we can look at ourselves and be like, man, I think I'm doing some of these things wrong. But what does this let us know? It lets us know we're not finished. We're finishing. We're taking steps. We're growing. We're thinking differently. Let's take a breath. Let's get to the point where we understand that this process is not just about, it's not starting over, right? Like you said, like it's not the marriage is just starting. It's just getting to the point of like, oh, wow, we can talk, right? We can have this. We here's you know the greatest part about a marriage, the greatest part, like one of my favorite things that make me smile brightest and hug my wife the tightest and love her the most is when we disagree and it's done, right? Like, no, this isn't something I think we should do. I think we should do it. Well, I disagree with you. Well, well, this is my point. It's, all right, well, then we disagree, but something needs to be done. Okay, we're going to get something done, but I don't agree. All right, come here. Like, and then we have that disagreement, but we know that this thing that we're in isn't going anywhere, right? So, regardless of what this disagreement is, we're going to do something. We're going to take action. And one of us or both of us may have to give some ground to find the right action to take. But we're moving forward with this thing because the disagreement isn't on whether or not to do the thing. The disagreement, because we're already in this union, is on how to do it. The disagreement isn't about are we going to be together because of this thing? It's not. It's simply we're going to be together. Let's work on being able to do it. So being able to disagree and still know that's my person. We have to be able to think different to get there because we're taught so much that the only way for us to be happy in a relationship is that everybody in the relationship must get what they want.
Yep.
And if anybody in the relationship isn't getting what they want the way they want it, the relationship has to end. Right? It can't be about just making the other person happy. It can't be about just making yourself happy, but we have to think different. We have to have those conversations. And so, like, that is a major part of thinking different. And that's why I want to encourage you, like, on your journey, continue to stride. You'll see that as far as the career is concerned, I'm going to share something with you that Myron Golden has been saying a lot on YouTube. If you truly want to find value in what you're doing, start looking to find solutions for other people, right?
Yep.
When it comes to an employment, and this is a vision that I've had for years, in employment. When it comes to employment, my purpose is to find solutions, right? My job is to help provide solutions for the person who has the issue. And I came to a realization, and I had to definitely look at myself and use this on myself. A person with a problem is not a problem. right?
Yeah.
The reason that's important is because if you look at how we respond to each other with why you act like that, why you act like that, why
Yep.
you talk like that, who do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
think you are, right?
Yep.
Is because we assume that a person with a problem
Mm,
is a problem, and they're
mm,
not.
no.
What if imagine going to a doctor, right?
Mm.
And they were like, you got cancer, right? Um, and all they want to do is talk about the fact that you smoke cigarettes, right? And they want to
Yep.
tell you, you like, man, I got cancer of the foot. I got toe cancer. How did my cigarette smoking? But was I putting it out with my toe too much? Should I not have stepped on it? But that's the thing about when we focus on a person with a problem, and then we focus on their problem versus focusing on their solution, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Because it's easy to identify our problems. It's easy to say, I'm going through this, I'm dealing with this, I'm having this problem. I'm like, there's all these problems. And there was someone in one of the previous conversations who jumped on and then immediately start talking about, people in other places of the world. It was like, and they were like, oh, well, you can be all positive. What about the people in Palestine?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I get it.
Mm,
But I got a
mm,
brother. I got a
yep.
brother a few hundred miles from me, down the coast in prison. I got another brother who's going through difficulty in his marriage and in his own troubles that he's having. I go to McDonald's and Burger Kings and fast food restaurants where people are standing in the drive-through begging for money. There are people close to me who I can physically see and touch who are having issues. And I'm not
Yep.
saying Palestine doesn't matter. That's not what
Mm,
I'm saying. I'm
mm,
saying before I can help any of these people, I need to get
mhm.
myself to a position where I can be of help. and
Absolutely.
and that includes myself. So thinking differently, if you truly want to be of value, you truly want to make changes, start thinking about, one, how can I help somebody else? What problem am I solving for someone else?
Mm,
And then what problems do I need to solve for me in order to get there?
mm,
Because the challenges are
absolutely.
there, the problems are there. Like,
Yep.
we are thirsty for solutions,
Mm, mm,
right? Like the old Jay-Z song, I got 99 problems, but the young lady isn't one, right?
mm,
So
mm,
that's the thing that we're looking at is there are problems, there are concerns, there are a myriad of them, especially if we step outside of ourselves. There are concerns. When we start to say, how can I be of service? It allows for us to start to promote and achieve growth and help others to grow and help others to be stronger, right? And then it helps us do that same thing.
absolutely. Oloropo.
You cut out. Hold on. You're buffering.
You.
You said Oloropo, you're back. All right, you were buffering. You start back over.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, I know that you were doing the PT work, and then you've moved on to doing more financial stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm just and then obviously you've had this more challenging background before that, and I also come from a pretty challenging background in that sense. Like I was locked up when I was 16, just for
Mhm.
a couple of weeks. Plenty of stuff like involved with not so much gangs but crime, etc.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was 18, I started working full time. I ran away from home basically when I was 14,
Mhm.
and actually only now as an adult is that it's only been I've only been able to really process a lot of my childhood, and so I feel like now is the opportunity where I feel like I'm at a like the world is my oyster in some sense, even though I'm at
Mhm.
rock bottom. I feel like all the lessons have built up to this point, and so I've done a stack of different things in my life, like worked in hospitality, running kitchens for pretty much 2 decades. Then I sort
Okay.
of moved, I did a communications degree here in Adelaide, communication, media, and culture. And that was like a pretty interesting experience. I was basically going to be a journalist, and then I decided at the end of that degree that I was going to move completely out of that direction, and started working in agriculture basically, but really interested in like permaculture and stuff like that. I was
Got
working
you.
at an organic store in the city for a few years, then started working with this company, basically connecting local food suppliers and stuff. And then I
Wow.
started running my own gardening business, and I've done a bunch of millions of stuff, man. But yeah, I'm really interested in. Or when I did the degree, I actually started doing psychology. I got halfway through that, and then was kind of like, I was doing a bit of youth work stuff and bits and pieces like that at the time, and also juggling hospitality jobs and stuff like that. And yeah, I realized halfway through the psych degree, I was like, man, I'm not going to be helping anybody, man. A lot of struggles of my own thinking and dark thoughts, depressive kind of symptoms, even suicidal thoughts and
Mhm.
stuff for a bunch of years. But so I changed to communications basically halfway through, and that's when I started getting really interested in sort of worldly affairs, politics, geopolitics, etc. And then that led into like the deeper dives into the mechanics of things, and even the
Mhm.
metaphysics of how reality works. Uh, but along that journey, yeah, I've basically started to be again very interested in psychology and spirituality, but particularly how transformation happens and stuff. And I wonder for yourself how that journey has been, and was there a point in time where your thinking drastically changed, or has it been a gradual journey for you?
So it's interesting. I seem to draw people in that um I have a tendency. I was a jack of all trades as well. Like one of the big things for me, one of the drawbacks, because I see a therapist on a on a regular basis.
Mm,
One of the big things for me that we've discovered in my time, speaking with my therapist, one of the big things that we found out is that um I have a tendency of I get caught in a rabbit hole because I love learning. And so if I find something interesting, right? And something within that is interesting, and there's an aspect of it that I want to know more of, I'm on a tangent. And so my rabbit hole, Chat GPT, like like dude, it's like sugar. It's like sugar to a baby. Have you ever seen the short of the baby who tastes like a freezy
oh yeah,
pop for the first time,
oh
and the
yeah.
baby's like, ah, like, dude,
Yeah.
first time on Chat GPT, I'm like, let me just drop this in here and see what it says. And then it
Mm,
says something. I was like, yeah, we're going back at that again. And so
yeah.
Chat
Yeah.
GPT, and I can hear from what you're saying about your learning, the method in which you learn, and the method and the different things that you took on learning, and the different ways that you've made the changes in your career, and the different steps that you've taken. We're similar in that regard. One of the things that happened for me is that learning aspect always kept me asking questions, right? But then I had to focus on something. And what I found, and this is going to sound, I guess this part of it is kind of what led to it being able to be beneficial for me. What I found is that when I asked questions about things, I was eager to share what I had learned. And if I was able to put myself in an environment with people who knew more about that thing, I found myself learning more. one of my biggest jumps in that space was, are you still there? Are we buffering? Did I lose you for a second?
Yeah, yeah, miss. Yeah, about 10, 15
Right.
seconds.
So what I did is I found a way to immerse myself into the culture of what it was I was learning. Right. So I would surround myself when I started doing fitness, I surrounded myself with people who knew fitness. We talked about fitness. We did fitness constantly. Whenever I learned something new, I was eager to share it with other people. And then, like, that kind of, turned into the whole personal training thing that I started to do. And it was always about development and growth and spreading and sharing this knowledge. So once I started to do that, one of the things that I found is that looking to help other people, which is what personal training is, and then looking to share knowledge, which is what coaching and development is, it led me to where I ended up because in school I got my degree in graphic arts because my dream growing up was just to work in an office on a computer. Like, that was my dream. I had no idea what that meant, like what type of job that would be. I just wanted to be in an office and be like, yes, I'll be with you momentarily. I had no idea what I was telling somebody to I would be with them momentarily, but that was the dream. I wanted to wear a suit. Now you can't beat me into a suit now. Like, I own one. So, and I'll tell you a funny story about that. I bought a suit. Me and my wife went out and we bought these nice. Well, I own two suits, but me and my wife went out and we bought these great outfits because our son told us that they're having an end of year ceremony for theater and it's formal. And I'm like, formal? He's like, yes, it's formal. And I'm like, really though? He's like, yes, it's formal. So we went out, we took a whole day, we got outfits, we got I got a white suit, my wife got a black dress, like, we are dressed up, we got everything. It was like, we're going to this event. And then we pull up, and we should have known he was wrong because it was at the high school. So we pull up and we start seeing parents walk in, and we're like, I don't know if this is actually formal. Here we are walking in. I'm in this button up, and my wife is in these heels. Like, we took photos and everything before. We start walking in. We get to where we walk through the doors, but it's later. It's further down the hall where the thing is happening. And one of these girls, one of his friends says to him, sees us walking in, and she says, "Why are you dressed like that?" Me and my wife stopped. We were like, "No, we're out of here. We're not going." We went. We don't live that far from the high school. We went home and changed, and my son, my son was like, "Yeah, that one's on me. It wasn't. It wasn't formal." I'm like, "It wasn't. We were decked out for the Oscars." Okay, so what was I talking about before I started talking about the suit? Oh, like who I wanted to be growing up, right? And so I wanted to be this person who sat in the office and sat in suits. And then my life kind of started to go in different directions. And so the way I arrived at where I am now is because I understood that who I really am. And remember I said before, your calling is different from your purpose, right? Your calling is that thing that you do, like that thing that you do, right, is your calling, but it may not be your purpose, but it is through that you're able to live your purpose. And so my calling, right, the thing that I do is I engage, I connect with people. I seek out solutions. I don't seek to demonize or to traumatize or to criticize. I seek to advise. I seek out ways to be able to help build and edify. And that's a large part of who I am. And so my purpose, however, is to create a generational legacy for my family. So for my children and my wife, that's my purpose. It is through my calling to be able to speak with people, to be able to engage with people, to be able to problem solve, to be able to look at things from a different way that allows for me to develop a connection in order to be able to do so, right? In order to be able to grow in that way. But
Yep.
it took time and growth for me to get here. It wasn't like, oh, I was just here. It
mm,
didn't, it did, it wasn't a thing of, oh, I woke up and I knew this is what I wanted to do from the moment, right? And I had to think different to understand the difference between a purpose and a calling, right? So you have these tremendous athletes who who can perform at a very high level physically. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like it's rugby in some countries, it's cricket in some countries, it's tennis in some countries. But wherever they are, they have this talent to perform at a high level, right?
mm,
That's your calling,
mm.
but it's not your purpose. Because your calling is the thing that you do and you do well. Your purpose is the thing that you leave behind when you're gone. And I think am I freezing up here? Because I'm always
No,
trying to use. Okay.
no, it's all good.
Your purpose is that thing that you leave behind, right? You
Mm,
don't take your purpose with you. Your purpose is your legacy. It's the thing you leave behind. Whether it's something that you just leave behind with your friends, just leave behind with a couple of people, it's the thing you leave behind. And don't we have to get out of this belief that our purpose is to like the belief that our purpose is to change the world. Like my life has no purpose if I'm not changing the world.
mm,
You're changing the world in the area you live in.
mm, mm,
My wife and I recently started watching the show called Foundation, and it's horrible the way that they did this, but there was this thing that happened, and the high ruler of it has like this ability to see it's human society many thousands of years in the future, and we've taken over galaxies and thousands of planets. We've learned how to fold space, but at any rate, there's this woman, and this woman tried to take down the emperors. And in her attempt to take down the emperors, what happened is uh, 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 she created a conflict between them, right? So, in the attempt to try to take down these emperors, or the empire, they came to her, and the guy says, "Well, I'm going to punish you." And then he says, "We went back and tracked every part of your life. The person you had the first kiss with, your aunts and uncles, your cousins, your blah blah blahs, the person you bumped into at the store and you started a relationship and you guys started talking about what type of books to read." Like, and he says ultimately we found 1,551 people who you have had an impact in their life. And
mm,
because you tried to kill my clone or my brother, essentially, because you tried to kill my brother, I'm going to kill all of those people. They're going to cease to exist. So everybody who ever knew you and whose life you ever made an impact on, they're gone now. Now that all of those people are gone, we're going to lock you up, put you in a cage. You won't be able to do anything. We're going to feed you intravenously. You won't be able to kill yourself, but you'll know you're the reason 1,500 people are gone. That's the
mm.
punishment. It's insane. First and foremost, I was
Crazy.
like, I don't know who was the person that sat down and thought up that punishment, but they need to talk to somebody. That's crazy, right? But the part that stuck out to me is we think we have to change the world
Mm,
when we don't understand that the little things that we do impact people's lives.
mm,
And it's not about do I get the credit for it? It's
mm,
about your purpose is what you leave behind. And you may not leave behind something that specifically people are going to say, Rich did this to my life, right?
mm,
But we all have an experience where we saw someone or encountered someone. We saw what they were going through, or we saw what they were able to achieve, and we looked at it and we were like, wow, that had an impact on my life. And it may not be a massive change in that moment, but it's something that made us see things differently or do things differently. That person has had an impact on you. That is part of their purpose, right? And that's how this is what thinking differently means, right? Because we don't think this. This isn't a
Mm,
natural way of thinking and processing information, right?
mm,
So when we truly think different, we're like, man, I walk past thousands of people a day,
mhm,
right? Little things like saying, excuse me.
mm,
My oldest daughter had this thing that she did where the community that me and my wife grew up in, it was like, yo, we beefing already. The day starts with us beefing. You can try to make it better. But if we encounter you, like what's up? Right? And our oldest daughter had this thing that she did from the beginning where she would just see other like women and just be like, she's beautiful. Can I go tell her? Now, here we are again. Now, remember the conversation we're having about parents. Your parents and my parents told us, don't mess with other people. Stay away from them people. You don't know them people. Whether it's because they think we're going to bother them, whether it's because they think those people are a danger, whether it's because they think that they're a danger, they're going to be uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what it was. We were told stay away from people. And so my daughter grew up where she was like, it's okay to tell somebody they look good. It had an impact on us because we're like, we we don't do that, right? Like that's not something she learned from us. That's innate to her to go up to somebody and says, I like your dress. Your dress looks nice. Right? Not in a facetious kind of way, like a legitimate compliment and a voice to that person.
mm.
It makes you think different. And so do like we haven't seen any no stories on the news about, oh, this little girl changed my life because she came up and she told me that I was pretty and I was having a really tough day. And the reason I got all dressed up today was because I had her encounter with someone and they told me that I was ugly and blah, 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 blah. And I've been living with this for years. And this little girl said that I'm pretty and
Mm.
it changed my life. Right? We're not hearing those stories, but we don't know when that action that we take is what that result is. So we have to think different. And when we think about being of service and we think about the fact that when we go out into the world, we do have an impact. These are the type of results that we're looking at. These are the type of things that we're encountering. These are the types of things that we're seeing. And so getting to this point, I'm 52 now. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still challenging the things that I'm thinking because by the things that were given to me by my parents, by my aunts and uncles, were for the things that they dealt with when they were their age. And now here I am trying to advise my son who's 16 and just got his first job. And I'm giving him advice, but I have to make sure that the advice that I'm giving him is not based on things that I experienced when I was
Mm,
16. Because
mm,
that's 30 some years ago. World is
mm,
significantly different. The people who populate it and the way they make their decisions are significantly different. And that's important for us to understand. The world is growing, the world is changing. KRS-One says the biggest failure of an old person is to not listen to young people.
yep,
And the greatest flaw of a young person is to not listen to old people.
I've
And
heard that. I've seen that.
and that's what I'm doing is I'm listen, Rich, it's not easy. I got a 16-year-old son. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, sometimes it's like, okay, let's go. Like it's clear that this is what you need. You want these on you, right? And then it just gets to the point where it's like, you know what? Let's just be apart. You know, let's just have this conversation. Let's just be in this moment and let me hear them. And sometimes I have to go back and I have to process it. And then I have
Mhm,
to I have to understand and see where it is, where it's coming from, and how to like be in that moment with him and with where
Mm,
I am. So yeah,
mm,
man. Like
mm,
so my thought process is constantly growing. I think I love learning. I think the love of learning allows for me to continue to grow and to continue to develop. Um, and it also allows for us to continue to heal, right?
mm,
Um, there are things we can't control, and then there are things we are. I don't know how the Australian financial system is built. Um, I'm fairly sure that the world financial system is built the same way. That there are people who have a whole lot, right? That, and this is no longer like, are you there? You still there?
yeah, still there. Dropped
Okay,
out for about 15 seconds.
right. And so what I was saying is like, I don't know how the Australian financial system is built. Um,
With corruption.
but right, that's what I was saying. I'm like, I'm fairly sure that the world financial system is built the same way, where there are people
Yeah.
who have a lot, and then there's everybody else. Um, but I do believe that the world financial system has developed to a place where it understands, and you see this happening around the world, where it understands that the only way that they stay rich is, or stay the richest, is by allowing for other people to grow to levels that they believe are rich, right? I have a belief that the super rich have access to things that we don't have access to.
For
And
sure.
I don't even mean things like that we even know about. Like we know there are billionaires who can do stuff like get a plane ticket to fly into orbit,
Mm,
right? There are millionaires and billionaires who can afford that.
mm,
What I'm saying is there are people who are so rich
mm.
they have access to unimaginable things. And if you talk about it too much, you're going to look at yourself and be like, man, I'm being crazy. But, but I do understand that their understanding is I don't have access to these things if there aren't people who are working to make these things accessible for me.
Mm,
Right. And
mm,
it's just not like slavery isn't the way to do it. Like that used to be the way to do it when we were a much younger species, right?
mhm, mhm,
But as a species, as we get older, we've come to understand well, someone has to do it. Just how much do we have to convince them to take in order to do it, right? Like, what's the acceptable amount in order to get someone to do it, right? How much of a person's time are they willing to exchange? Are you there? Are you buffering? Or are you stuck for a second? Let me give it a moment, see if it comes back. Maybe it's me. Let me know when you get back in there. But the thing is, I think I lost you, Rich. I'm sorry about that, Rich, but I'm hoping you can pick it back up. Um, but the thing is that what what happens to us and what had to happen to me, and I believe I'm sharing with my son right now, is that there is an agreed upon amount to which we can. What's going on, Captain? Good to see you. There's an agreed upon amount that we are prepared to exchange our time for. And as long as we're prepared to exchange our time for that money, as long as we're prepared to do that, then there will be an amount that the super rich are willing to provide us to or willing to pay us to provide for them to do it. And for some of us, it's an amount that we believe makes us super rich. So everyone, thank you for being here today. How's everybody doing today? Captain, how are you doing today? Good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking in. As always, guys, make sure you drop down in the comments where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. I've been on here for an hour and a half. I want to thank everyone for being a part. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Rich, thank you so much for checking in and sharing personally your experience. Everyone, if you haven't done so yet, please take a moment, drop a thumbs up, drop a like. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's just a great way to be able to support the channel. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, take a look at the channel, see what we do there, what we offer there. Currently, you can now see a link in the bio, both to be able to support the channel through donations and through buying merch. We currently have a shop open. Be sure to visit the shop, take a look at some of the apparel and different items we have available. I want to say thank you once again, everyone, for being here. It's always a pleasure. If you haven't seen everything, this always posts immediately. It'll go back up live. It'll be available for you there. And so, as I always say, guys, keep working with discipline. Discipline, not a problem, brother. We're going to get together next time. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. And we'll continue to talk, and we'll continue to help each other grow and develop. Remember, discipline is going to start with repetition, patience, consistency. Thank you very much. And it's going to end up with perseverance. The first three things work on a thing, the last one works on you. And as always, guys, keep in mind, keep showing up, keep blowing up, keep growing up. God bless.